I feel like when we were kids growing up, around 10, 15 years ago, our favorite heroes always seemed to be a combination of Spider-Man, Batman, and Green Lantern. Yeah, the last 15 years or so.
Yeah.
DC just doesn't know what to do with him.
Green Lantern's got this!
And it's not even just that they don't know what to do with him, it feels like they fucking hate him. Guys, I'm Thomas.
I'm Merlin.
Together we're the Comic Lads, and today we're going to be talking about how DC has a Green Lantern problem.
But before we get into it, guys, we want to hear from you in Question of the Week. How do you guys feel about Hal Jordan as the main Green Lantern? Have you been happy with his trajectory in the world of DC?
Because we haven't.
Now we're going to get into it.
Yeah, but before we get started, guys, smash that like button.
Yeah, help this video get out into the algorithm, because I feel like people kind of don't realize what's happened to our boy Hal Jordan.
They don't, and I know for a fact that YouTube does not care about Green Lantern, but they should.
Agreed.
Subscribe if you haven't already, and become one with us.
One of the lads. Alright, so obviously we mentioned this in the intro, but we're focusing on Hal Jordan Green Lantern.
Yeah, because say what you will, he is the one in the last 10, 15 years that has been done the most dirty out of all the lanterns.
Before we get into it, I think to analyze where he's at in the present, we've got to analyze his whole trajectory from the past.
Yes.
So I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, I had these like massive showcase like omnibuses. They were like kind of what you would call an omnibus before omnibuses came out.
Yeah,
you know?
like the black and white newsprint collections of old comics.
Yeah, that you were just like wishing to God had like color in them.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like fine guys, couldn't splurge a little bit more.
I know, every time you open them, you hope that something changed, but they're still just black and white. But I grew up reading classic Green Lantern, and I always felt like, along with Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, he was kind of like...
He's the number 4.
Yeah, he was the number 4, like, unofficial, official fourth pillar of the DC universe.
Yes, I totally agree. I feel like some people will disagree and be like, no, it's Flash, but I'm like, Green Lantern.
And if not, like, they're on the same level, I feel.
Yeah, they're both tied 4th place.
Definitely. And when I think of specifically, like, the Justice League, the lineup always has to include Green Lantern in its base form.
And if it doesn't, feels like something's missing. Zack Snyder.
Yeah. You know, in the 70s and 80s, it felt like Hal Jordan really had his place in the DC universe. And then they kind of like encountered a problem where they started to introduce all these different Green Lanterns. And at first it kind of felt like very refreshing.
Yeah, we got Jon Stewart, amazing fan favorite character, got a lot of character development. We got Guy Gardner, that got a lot of love in the Justice League International book. And then DC was like, let's just make Hal Jordan bad. Let's just make him evil.
Yeah, let's shelve him for a little bit.
Yeah, let's make him evil and murder the entire Green Lantern Corps, and then we can just make a new Green Lantern because we don't care about Hal anymore. So the writers came in and they had Mongol and the cyborg Superman basically nuke Coast City, Green Lantern City, and I'm just like, yeah, okay. Guys,
that's like a huge major world event in the DC universe that I feel like rarely is brought up.
No, it's only Geoff Johns would talk about it because he's the only one that cares.
Yeah, millions of people
instantly vaporized.
Yeah.
And then Hal is so distraught by this. Obviously, he has like a mental break and he uses his ring to recreate the entire city.
Yeah, he goes kind of like loopy. Like he becomes an Arkham Asylum patient.
He does, but you get it though.
Yeah, you understand.
You get it. And then he makes the whole city out of his ring. It's really depressing. He starts to like talk to his neighbors and people that he knows, like made out of constructs.
Kind of like a WandaVision type thing going on.
And then he kind of has like a realization where he can't keep it up forever.
That's what she said!
And one of the Guardians of the Universe comes down, one of his bosses. Not a shred of empathy or sympathy within them at all. They're like, Hal Jordan, you have misused the power of the ring. You are no longer worthy of being a Green Lantern. And you're like, what?
Can we get some grief counseling before, like, firing him automatically?
He's the greatest of you. He just, like, made his city back again. Like, you guys are gonna fire him? And rightfully so, in my opinion. He loses it, maybe goes a little too far, and, like, murders the whole Green Lantern Corps.
He goes too far, and he also becomes not just a problem for the Green Lantern Corps, but also for the other heroes of the DC universe.
Yes.
He kind of goes on a rampage.
Yeah, he becomes this villain called Parallax.
The writers kind of noticed that the popularity of Green Lantern was dwindling, and instead of being like, oh, maybe we should just start writing good stories again,
Let's kill him.
yeah, let's kill him and let's throw this whole mythos out the window and make Hal Jordan into a villain.
Yeah, and then he dies and becomes the Spectre.
Dies in like quotation.
Well, yeah, because nobody dies in comics. And then Geoff Johns came in.
Guys, if you're ever on the fence about Green Lantern, you need to read the Geoff Johns run.
It's a top 3 comic book run of all time.
And he came in and was like, you know what, guys, Hal Jordan isn't actually whack.
Yeah, actually, instead of you guys just like saddling him with this horrific deed of eradicating the core, Geoff Johns made one of the biggest, but I want to say also one of the best retcons in comic book history. He basically retconned that Parallax wasn't just like a Saturday morning cartoon villain name that Hal picked for himself. It's the name of the entity of fear in the universe that possessed him and made him do all these horrible things.
Yeah, and it's very interesting, you know, with that, he also started to not only bring back Hal Jordan as a character, but he started to introduce more things into the Green Lantern mythos, like the different lantern cores, you know, red, yellow. He had the whole Sinestro core become a thing, because up until that, he just had like a goofy ring and
He had one yellow ring.
Exactly. And it's very interesting because when I read the Geoff Johns run, I didn't fully understand, and I think I was even texting you like
How much he did for the mythos.
yeah, and I don't think people realize, you know, he made all these things that seem like such staples now.
Yeah, it boggles the mind that nobody until him in like 2005 thought to make different colored lantern cores.
Yeah.
Such an easy layup of an idea.
And his popularity with the run was starting to make Green Lantern resurface as like one of DC's most prominent heroes.
Yeah, he was rightfully so becoming a big name again.
And it's super funny, I didn't know this, but you were saying this just off camera. The reason for his desire to bring back Hal Jordan Green Lantern was that he grew up loving
Hal Jordan.
And he was kind of like, what have they done to my boy?
Literally.
You know what I mean?
Same with Barry Allen, you know, like those were his 2 favorite characters, and he was like, you know what, I'm gonna bring him back, guys. Geoff Johns proved everyone wrong and really showed why Hal Jordan is the best of them. Hal Jordan deserves to be at the forefront.
Hal Jordan is kind of in a weird place too, because I feel like a lot of people, when growing up, their first introductions to various heroes solidifies which version they like best.
Yeah.
And so, you know, a lot of people, even some of the lads, have commented in the past on our videos saying that like, oh, I grew up watching the Justice League show, so I like, you know, Jon Stewart.
That's most people, honestly.
You know, I mean, go to Green Lantern, and I think as the second Green Lantern, he brings his own flavor to the DC Green Lantern mythos.
He absolutely does, and he's forged his own path and stood on his own to even grow into higher ranks than Hal ever did in the core.
But at the same time, throughout the years, it seems like there's been this constant push and pull of Hal Jordan's relevancy.
Yeah.
All I have to say is his popularity resurfacing in the mid-2000s led Hal Jordan to lead his own DC Universe event.
Yeah, this would never, ever happen again in today's DC Comics landscape. Green Lantern is not gonna head a mainline DC year-long event like that ever again.
And of course, we're talking about Blackest Night. And just a little, like, anecdote. I remember when we were kids, like, around, it must have been when we were around, like, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, we're dating ourselves right now.
I remember specifically, like, at school, it's all we were talking about. I remember each of us were collecting, like, different volumes, you know, focusing on different characters, like the Green Lantern Blackest Night.
The Batman Blackest Night.
Batman Blackest Night, exactly. And we're all just, like, trading to try to get, like, the most out of our money. You know what I mean?
Nobody talks about Blackest Night.
If you guys want a video just focused on Blackest Night, let us know.
We'll do it in a heartbeat.
It's gotta be.
It's my favorite event of all time. I don't care.
And, like, the main actual volume itself, the original Blackest Night, it's so masterfully written, and the art,
Ivan Rice's art has never been better than that book.
it is disgusting. The spreads,
Disgusting.
bro, the spreads of like the Lantern Corps and the freaking battle between the Black Lanterns and the heroes of the DC universe.
That one spread of Black Lantern Batman.
It's like vomiting the Blackest Night ring.
Oh my god.
Yeah, unbelievable. So if you guys don't know about the Blackest Night run, just very, very quickly, Geoff Johns was introducing all these new Lantern Corps, all these new
Ideas.
and emotional spectrum entities. It all culminated in him introducing the Black Lantern Corps, which essentially raised the dead
Yeah.
of the DC universe. universe.
Yeah.
It was kind of like life itself versus death.
Yes, and the craziest thing about it was that even though it was technically a Green Lantern headlined event, every single character that had died previously in all of DC's history was on the table to be resurrected as an evil Black Lantern.
And it was so good too, because I feel like when you take a DC Universe event nowadays, it's just like, oh, let's do multiverse, you know what I mean? Let's do the Omega Universe. Obviously, that's very cool, and we like the different ideas it introduces. But even something like, you know, DC Metal, for example, it just feels like the last few big events have just been multiverse focused.
Yeah, and like, how do we make it like artificially bigger each time without thinking of like actually writing a cool, interesting story?
Exactly, but with Blackest Night, you didn't know which fallen heroes from the past would pop up suddenly, and you know...
Yeah, or which heroes would get killed in the story and become Black Lanterns, which happens.
It's definitely like kind of a scary book.
It is. I'm gonna fully date myself. I bought Blackest Night, the main book, when I was 9. One of the first few pages is one of the Guardians of the Universe going rogue and like becoming a Black Lantern and eating the other one.
Ripping out the heart of the Guardian.
I had the worst nightmares ever. I don't know. I went to school the next day and I just was not speaking. I was traumatized.
It felt mature. It felt gritty. It felt like the stakes were never high.
The stakes were fully real because, like, when you get to the end of the book, some characters don't come back to life.
All of this culminated to the end of Geoff Johns' run. Green Lantern was in the discussion again. You know what I mean? Like, officially, Hal Jordan was considered the Green Lantern.
Yes.
And so Geoff Johns left the run of Green Lantern with such a huge legacy. Everyone was absolutely in love with his storytelling and how he brought back this iconic character and made him better than he's ever been.
Ever.
He gave DC the perfect send-off where he's like, here, I brought back the popularity of him. Green Lantern is almost as popular as Batman at this point.
Yeah, he was selling like crazy.
And DC was just like,
fuck you.
We have so much potential here. Fuck Hal Jordan, though.
Let's have Hal Jordan's once and future love start banging Kyle Rayner in the next arc.
What?
I know, after they brought back this iconic relationship and built it up to be something so special and intimate.
They pulled a Zeb Wells. Oh, the book is sick? Let's cuck him.
I know. And since then, it just feels like...
They have no idea what to do with Green Lantern.
But specifically Hal Jordan.
Yeah.
Even though there was so much storytelling that was fleshed out through Geoff Johns' run with Hal Jordan, there's always more stories to tell.
Of course there are.
You know what I mean? And it feels like since then, the only way that they've really managed to get any intrigue back into the Green Lantern world is to be like, hey guys,
here's a new one.
Here's a new Green Lantern.
Here's Teen Lantern.
And it felt like the downfall of Green Lantern wasn't just happening in the comics.
It was really triggered by the movie.
Obviously, the infamous Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie just bombed completely.
Yeah, rightfully so. Dog shit film. It was bad.
The movie didn't bomb because it was Green Lantern.
No, it bombed because the movie was ass.
Yeah.
And then DC was like, oh no, everyone hates Green Lantern like inherently. I'm like, no, they hate your shit movie.
The momentum that Geoff Johns was building with Green Lantern in the public perception was just like halted.
Yeah, to a screeching halt. The whole world was like, fuck you. Including DC. They literally just shelved him forever.
It's created this trend now where it's almost like Hal Jordan has become the black sheep of the Green Lantern family.
He has, and like
the unwanted child.
But he's the main one, you
I know.
It makes no sense. It's fully transparent that DC clearly just doesn't like him.
And this isn't just like a comic book issue now, too. There's a lot of excitement and hype around James Gunn's upcoming DCU. Very hyped. The set photos of Superman look amazing.
Yep.
And with Superman, they're also introducing the show Lanterns. And as soon as Lanterns was announced, I'm like, oh my god, a buddy cop show with Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart?
We're feasting.
Sign me the fuck up.
And then they cast Hal Jordan, and he's 60. Obviously, no one in the sphere of comic book pop culture knows what the plot of Lanterns will be. What you can't argue is that he's 60 years old, and he's not long for this universe.
I feel like inevitably Hal Jordan will die.
Or become Parallax.
Or Jon Stewart will just become the main Lantern of the DC universe.
I think he will.
Hal Jordan has not got the spotlight or love that he absolutely deserves.
No, and Hal Jordan's story is ripe for being adapted into like a decades-long movie franchise. They've made 10 Fast and Furious movies. You can make 10 Green Lantern movies about Geoff Johns' entire saga, and they would all be sick. Hal Jordan will always be like a top 3 DC character for me.
But specifically, like, a past version of him.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because nowadays, when they introduce him, it's always like...
He's a ghost of his former self. He's a shell.
Instead of introducing new exciting ideas like Johns has done,
Yeah.
they just recycle the same plot line over and over again, you know? Let's get him and Carol back together. Oh no, there's emotional turmoil. Let's break them up. Oh, guess what? He's gonna go back to being a pilot.
He's sad and he's going to space. Guess what? He's in space and he's sad, so he's going back to Earth and he's gonna beg Carol for a job. And then she's gonna say no, and he's gonna go back to space, and then she's gonna be like, why'd you leave, Hal? And then he's gonna come back and he's gonna ask her out on a date, and she's gonna be like, I have a boyfriend, Hal. Get the fuck away from me.
Yeah, I'm with
And then-
Kyle now.
And you're like, what?
We're especially very passionate about it because, like we said, we grew up reading, you know, Geoff Johns, and he felt like Green Lantern freaking mattered.
Fucking doesn't anymore. To the point where I want to bring up, I'm just predicting that you're gonna be mauling at this. In the most recent DC crossover event from this summer called Absolute Power, there's this moment with Hal Jordan, bro, where he's like creating a barrier with his ring, and like he's holding this barrier and waiting for Barry Allen the Flash to do something, trying to buy him time. And like he has this barrier up for a few seconds. Mind you, this is the greatest Green Lantern in the history of the cosmos. And the barrier's cracking and he's like, oh, Barry, like how much longer do you need? Like I only have so much willpower. What did you just fucking say?
Yeah, that's so disrespectful.
What did you just fucking say about my goat? He says that, and he's like, I only have so much willpower. And then, like, Jay Garrick runs over with, like, Alan Scott and someone else, and they, like, put their hands on, like, Hal's shoulders, and they're like, well, how about we add a little more? And then that gives him the upper hand that he needs to, like, reinforce the barrier. I'm like, are you fucking joking right now?
Yeah, he's supposed to be the Green Lantern of a corps that has thousands within it.
That has, at least at its peak, 7,200 members. And he needs Foggy Flash to help him reinforce his construct? No disrespect to Jay. I love Jay. Get the fuck out of here, bro. This is not your moment.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Green Lantern is supposed to be the character that, when the odds are absolutely against him, the light of hope is dwindling, you know what I mean? He can call upon his pure perseverance and willpower to get through it.
Yes, but no. He needs Foggy Flash.
I can't believe it. There needs to be a Green Lantern renaissance.
Yes.
I hope to God that absolute Green Lantern can be introduced and bring back the popularity of Hal Jordan.
Yeah. Merlin is a little late to the party, I guess. It's not Hal. It's a new girl character that's absolute Green Lantern. Which, like, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not Hal, bro. Sorry to break it to you. Guys, Merlin looks so depressed right now.
You guys can't see my face, but I'm like that emoji of just the straight mouth. You know what I mean? Just... Yeah. Oh, God. Guys, is this an us problem, though? We need to hear from you. Let us know what you guys think. We're really curious to see where you guys lie with this issue. Are you as passionate and kind of angry about it as us?
Yeah, do you even think it's an issue? Because I don't see anyone else talking about this personally. As always, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.